Welcome, everyone, to Around the ACL. Michelle Thompson here with Trey Ryder and Anthony Ione, coming off of Cornhole Mania. We had a fantastic weekend over in Colorado, close to Anthony's stomping grounds. Or how close were you to the venue, Anthony?
I'm about an hour and a half south
east
of that, so it was still out there, but still the home state.
Well, it had glowing reviews. I didn't get to go.
Oh, good.
This is the first pro event I have not attended in a few years. But yeah, everybody seemed to really like the area. So hats off to Colorado.
What's nice about that is by going north, you do kind of you get closer to the mountains kind of the more you go north. So that's cool that people that have never been to Colorado, they're like Trey was able to dip into the Boulder area, and the foothills kind of get really close into that town. So that is the bonus. Crazy windy out there. Just for those that are first, that's not normal. We don't know what the heck was going on. We were in Windsor. We were in Windsor, but it's not normally that windy. I got home later that afternoon on Sunday, and it's not windy like that where I live, and it was just blowing all over the place. Actually, I went to the Nuggets game last night, and I heard, I'm not sure if it's true, but one of the Timberwolves players wasn't able to make the game because of winds. So,
wow.
I think it was Rudy Gobert I think he was having a baby, so he was kind of flying in separately at a later time and couldn't get his flight in, so they had to run without him and ended up kicking our butt anyway. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on here?
Cornhole players can relate to travel problems not allowing them to play.
Yes, no doubt.
But yeah, that was one of the things I heard Jake say, that if it wasn't so windy, he would move there in a heartbeat. So we were wondering if it was temporary, permanent, normal, abnormal, all the good things. So Good to know. Colorado, not the windiest places.
No, that was weird.
Well, that was really cool. And now we get to head to Vegas next. So we'll get into a lot of the Vegas stuff next week on our show. But let's first talk about this past event. So we had our finalists for national singles and doubles and shootout singles and doubles, and then some other winners that happened. We're going to start off with our national singles, where we had Jeremiah Ellis, Gavin Cano, Jamie Graham, and Adam Hisner. No surprises there, I would say. No one on that list shouldn't be on that list. Definitely some giants on there. So Trey, let's hear what you think.
Yeah, I got a lot of thoughts on this one in particular. Yeah. Like it's crazy. Like honestly, like the least I think I have to talk about here, maybe like the best player in the world, and that's Jeremiah Ellis. I think I had the least to talk about when it comes to him, because it's almost becoming standard now, right? Some interesting tidbits here, right? So Jeremiah Ellis, I spent all of last show talking about how he built this huge lead and it's going to be hard to catch him. And then immediately one event in, Gavin Cano has a chance to not only catch Ellis, but pass him. Now, there's a number of things that have to happen in order for that to work out, right? He's 20 points behind. Let's say he goes and wins shootout singles. If he wins shootout singles, and I know we're playing the if games and ifs and what's, the saying. So, right? So if he is able to win shootout singles, then literally whoever finishes higher between Gavin Cano and Jeremiah Ellis in national singles will ultimately determine who the number one player in the world is. Okay. If, let's say, Gavin Cano wins his first game in shootout singles, and then Cano and Ellis meet in the finals. If Cano beats Ellis in the finals and have national singles, then they'll literally be tied for number one player in the world. Like things like that, and make this a really, really cool national singles Final Four. So I'm really excited to see Gavin Cano and Jeremiah Ellis in that toe-to-toe battle that we will probably see for the rest of the season, as both, I think, have established themselves as the two best players in the world right now. I think there's a tier. I think it's Jeremiah Ellis, Gavin Cano. Then there's a list of 3 players in my mind in that next tier. And then there's a gap again between a lot of other people, right? And I think that next 3 tier is Eric Davis, Adam Hisner, and Braden Wilson. Right now, those 3 have shown that, they're competing consistently at the highest level in these pro events. So Ellis, Cano, fun to watch. And then, the last 2, Adam Hisner, it's like, I went up to him and I said, "Oh, so you're still good, huh?" And he said, "Us old guys can still play."
Love it. Let's go. Someone's got to rep the old guys.
And I think what is so impressive about Hisner is that he has truly changed and adapted his game from way back when, right? Even if we look at someone, when you think of all-time greats, one of the first ones you're always going to think of, right, is Matt Guy, right? But to an extent, has Matt Guy really changed his game much over the past 10 years? I'd argue no. You have a slide and you have an airmail, and that's really all you need to be successful. And he continues to show that he'll be successful. And I'll talk a little bit about Matt Guy in a second when I talk about Jamie Graham. But isn't that Hisner has, what has Hisner done that's different, right? He may not still have a natural roll bag, but if you look back in the day, it was push and slide, and Hisner was going to get the tackiest bag in the building. And even when the game had evolved to be a faster bag market, he was still throwing the really tacky bags and having somewhat of success even among a field of really fast bag throwers. He has changed that slightly and now has added this absolutely disgusting cut over the past few years that I would say is probably the best cut in the world.
Yes.
I can't think of a better cut. Now, if you're talking about, want to get Anthony, will get real technical with me on the lifts and the hops and right.
Yeah.
And if that qualifies as a cut, maybe. But the idea is if we're talking a pure cut, something that is going to land on the board, slide up the board, but at an angle from right to left for a right-handed player, I don't think there's a player out there that throws a better or harder cut than Adam Hisner, and he is so consistent with it. So, I mean, in this Final Four, he may be the odd man out when you talk about two players that are number one, number two, and then Jamie Graham, singles world champ. But Hisner should feel like he belongs in that entire field as well. And then finally, we get to Jamie Graham, which, you know, we all kept saying the same thing. I felt like it was like, oh, Graham wasn't that good in Palm Beach. And it was just like, but is anybody worried? We're like, no, like, I guess not. Right. And because Jamie Graham at any given time can just wake up in the morning and go, I think I'm going to win today. Right. This is a good day to win.
Yes, sir.
He just puts it all together. But if you did not see that finals between him and Matt Guy, talk about something I have never seen before in my life. Set the stage. Matt Guy's up, I believe, 19-5 in game one of a double dip scenario. Matt Guy throws his bag, and as it lands, it explodes. Pellets everywhere. Bag breaks. I mean, look, I've been around the game a long time. I've seen bags break in local blind draws, but a pro event,
never seen it.
Especially with that level stakes, I have never seen it in my entire life. Okay. Matt Guy's bags break.
Do we have that in the rule book even?
Yes.
We do. Okay.
You have to, and he was offered a down and back, and he rejected the down and back. He didn't want it. Right. So he throws his bag. He breaks his bags. He has to get a new set. He's calling Brett on the phone, his son, who's asleep in the car. Right. So Brett's running inside.
Big ass building, by the way. So you see Brett from like a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
You know, that's how big the building is. I'm like, it's going to take 20 seconds for him to run here. This building is big.
So Matt, you know, he gets his bags, then gives up like 10, 11 points in a row to Jamie Graham before finally finishing off game one. But then Jamie Graham absolutely dominates game two and off to the races. I think both can be true. I think it can be true that to say that Matt Guy played well enough all day with his original bags that he probably could have made that broadcast court, right? He probably could have made that Final Four. It's also completely fair to say Jamie Graham earned every inch of what he did that entire bracket. He was consistent. He hit all of the shots. And even when we talk about doubles, he was clutch in general. So I know I took a long time just talking about national singles, but I thought, you know, those players played so well and are representing the best and the best of the world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Anthony's big Kano fan, been talking about him for a while. So he was obviously dominant. He made, 3 3 out of the 4 finals.
He killed.
So, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, just to finish off the Graham and Guy discussion. So, yeah, not only did the bag break, but, you start going to that whole rule process. And I was watching the game with Stacy Moore and Uncle Bob. And not only is there a rule, Meesh, but Stacy was the one teaching us the rule. He was like, hey, I know how this works. He was like, he's got to get a whole new set. He can't be he's telling us all the rules. And we're like, oh my gosh, we've never seen this happen. But yeah, Graham threw an 11.11 in that last one, and doing it with this bag that we thought was pretty much dead, the All Slide 2.0. It might have been Ian Cripps's bag, the same one that he won. I don't know if you know if it's true or not, but was it the same one that he won with in the shootout a couple weeks ago? Okay, so that's what's crazy about Graham is I think he's one of those players that you could put any bag in his hand. And he's going to be able to be successful with it, where a lot of us are like, oh, this one just doesn't feel quite right. It's a little floppy. The speed is a little off. And then Graham, of course, changing his technique. He went back to the old revision, A, where now he's like in revision W or something. But yeah, it was like, and it's that, you remember where he kind of had that ugly bag last season, beginning of last season? That's back. So it's this ugly bag, but it's that step over thing, the ugly bag. It's down the middle. But then when he wants to highlight his roll bag or some special shot, it's beautiful because he goes back to like revision C for that grip, and it's coming out. The roll bag's coming out fully loaded. But yeah, Graham was absolutely crazy. And he was the only one there was one other person in his bracket who shot a 10 half. I want to keep highlighting the 10 half stat, the ability to maintain a 10 PPR and at least a half DPR. Matt Guy, a good example, comes in second. The guy averaged a 10.72 over 183 rounds, took second because they had a 0.3 DPR. How crazy is that? Put that in perspective. Yeah. His opponents, on average, are shooting a 10.4. That means Matt Guy is giving you a clear path to the hole, and we're seeing that just doesn't win championships. It'll get you close, but to close it out, you have to be able to maintain at least a 0.5. Yeah, you mentioned Gavin Cano. Unbelievable what this kid did the whole weekend. He came in, he went in the bracket right out of the gate in shootout singles. Next day comes in, wins out national singles. And his game is, I would say it's not flashy just because he mixes up his shots so well. I think he's doing the right shot selection. He's being conservative when he should. His ability to rescue his bags is unbelievable. When he does miss, when you think it's out of play, it's still in play. And there's times where he's stepping out to get stuff. His ability to collect inside arm, slick side with a bag out to the left is unbelievable. You think these bags are out of play, he's grabbing those. That rescued him a lot of times, earned him a bunch of points. But again, I'll keep harping on his mindset because I think that's the difference with Gavin Cano this season is he came in with a whole new philosophy. And Misha, this is right up your lane. I don't know, maybe you're working with him. Maybe he's one of your clients secretly, but this guy is unbelievable. I'll use this story because it happened at National Number 1. He takes the king seat from Jacob Trzynski. Most people are celebrating. He just took over the king seat in a natty bracket. No facial expression. He takes the win. He walks over to his table, walks away from everyone, sits by himself, and he just like kind of takes in the moment. And I asked him later, I was like, well, why did you do that? And he was like, I just wanted to stay locked in. I felt like if I stayed in my area with all of my people, they had been kind of pumping me up and getting me I just needed to stay locked in. I wasn't done. So I was like, man, he's like, I'm really focusing on that head game right now. Yeah, you mentioned Ellis. I don't have a lot to say on him as well because he just keeps doing the same stuff, but he was the only player in his bracket with a 10 half. There were a lot of players with 10, but he was the only one with a 10 half, takes down the bracket. A little shout out to Justin Rule in that bracket. He was gas. I haven't seen that kid throw that good. If Ellis wasn't on his side of the bracket, I think he ends up in the king seat match. That's how good he was shooting, but he had to go through an Ellis. Sorrell's made a crazy run all the way to the king seat match. We didn't see that one coming. And then Adam Hissner, I was a little nervous. He's throwing this dart bag. So we're kind of seeing, that Viper R carpets being pretty common, right? You've got Hart out there throwing it. You got Ellis out there throwing it. Adam Hissner coming in with the Viper R version of the Titan bag, this new dart bag. And I'm like, I know Hissner wants to throw as hard as possible. He told me the harder I can throw, the straighter my line is. That's why he throws these 3-speed bags, because he could just wing him in there really hard. And I'm like, oh, I saw him with that dart. And I'm like, man, he's going to have to baby that a little bit in some conditions. So I was a little nervous. Didn't matter, going through and winning his bracket like that the way he did. Also a 10-half guy. There was only one other person in his bracket with a 10-half stat. So I think we should kind of keep an eye on that one a little bit moving forward. But yeah, singles was fire. I enjoyed every bit of that.
I'm not working with Kano, but I will say that on the broadcast when Jeremiah Ellis won the semifinal, people were congratulating him, and he said, "No, I'm not done yet. Don't congratulate me." So kind of the same concept of I don't want to go to the future of winning yet because I'm not there yet. So interesting on the mindset stuff. All right, shootout singles. You guys don't get long. You took it all up with national singles. We got Alex Rawls, Eric Davis, Gavin Kano, and Braden Wilson. Trey, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I really think the two quick notes from me is just from Eric Davis continuing to show that he's here to stay for the season. I was worried coming out of Palm Beach and West Wago that, okay, this is a peak and then, the rest of the season won't be as good. Eric Davis, man, you put him in a 10-round format. I don't think there's anybody in the world that's going to be as good as him for a long time. Good to see Alex Rawls, although Rawls didn't have a great national singles that same weekend. For him, it was finally that breakout. He had such a good Palm Beach, just couldn't get to the broadcast court, able to break through and shoot out singles. So I was really impressed and kind of expected to see Rawls finally break onto a broadcast court this year.
Anthony?
Yeah, definitely expected. I mean, if you talk about consistency over the past couple of years, I don't know if anyone's more consistent than Alex Rawls. If we go to national number one, he was like second or third in both brackets of singles. So here he is finally breaking through. So he's making those losers finals or those championship matches almost every time in his bracket. So no surprise there. So again, Eric Davis, kind of similar to Adam Hissner, where he's been a guy who really likes a real just grindy, slow bag. And that does hurt him sometimes, when you just don't get that one bag that falls just a little bit of drip a couple times to give you those 2-3 points. Also throwing the R carpet. So he's moving over to that Lucky Bag Pro Sniper Elite. I love that bag in his hand. If he can he's going to be able to do all the shots with that faster model bag. He's going to get that extra hole friendliness. Really, for him, it's just being able to control those tough pushes, which we know is one of his best things. And he's actually able to blow up piles more with this bigger, floppier bag. And he was pulling off some of the most amazing shots. Again, the kid is just a highlight reel every single time. Really proud of Braden Wilson again, right? He made his bracket in the different format and the national format last time, showing that he can get it done also in shootout singles. And it's really weird when we talked about all the rookies coming into it. It was like every name but Braden Wilson. I mean, we mentioned Braden Wilson, but it was like, we had Sammy Soto kind of out in front of him. We talked about Caden Allen again or more, which where's Caden Allen? We're not even really seeing him much. He's outplaying Trader right now, which he came in as, this guy that was right there neck and neck with Ellis, although Trader is consistently finishing. But it's Braden Wilson taking down brackets, the guy that we're not really mentioning as much. So second shot for this guy. I'm really hoping that he gets the finish that he wanted. It was really weird on the one more thing, Meesh, because this was kind of funny when we did the opener, Trey, in the broadcast. I was like, win or lose, Braden Wilson's going to do it with a smile. and then they pan over to him after the loss. And he was crying,
Opposite.
And I'm like, oh crap, that didn't play out very well. He's always smiling. That kid is always smiling, win or lose. But that particular time, that was not the case.
The emotions were strong for Braden, and his parents told me that he started off slow and he was gonna quit. Like, he was done. He couldn't get over the hump, and then he pushed through. And look at him now. So really, really proud of him. National doubles. We have Graham and Maudlin, Ellis and Hart, Harbaugh and Malone, and Hamilton and Kano. And I feel like you, Trey, you did not have faith in Hart. I don't think you did.
I did not. I absolutely did not. And I am look here. Let's just do this. I will eat my words as long as Anthony eats his words about Graham and Maudlin, and then we'll be done. And then we can just be done. We can.
That's
eat
totally
we can eat
fair.
our
That is so fair.
Because look, I'll be honest. I didn't think Ryan Hart had it in him, and he absolutely showed out this weekend. And in doubles, he was better. He was flat out better than Jeremiah Ellis was in doubles. Now, I obviously still think Jeremiah Ellis is the superior player on the team, obviously our number one player in the world, but they are showing that they're, to qualify for both doubles events, I think shows that they're here to stay. And now the question will be, how can Ryan Hart compete on the broadcast court and be able to, hang around with Jeremiah Ellis? Going over to Frank Maudlin and Jamie Graham, it's like, look, I still go back to the fact that, like, maybe Jamie Graham just really needs to be the far and away A player. And maybe Frank Maudlin gets motivation by playing with a Jamie Graham. And together, they just figure it out. Because they weren't a bad team at all way back in the day. And, can they team up together and go on a really historic run? What I love about doubles, it's completely different than where we are in singles. In singles, it feels like a two-horse race. In doubles, these standings are wide open. Just so everybody understands the implications, Jamie Graham and Frank Maudlin are currently ranked 9th. If they win their national doubles, that gets them 40 bonus points. Those 40 points are enough to put them at number 1 in the country, okay? So the span of who is first to who is 9th is such a small margin right now that any of these 10 teams could be the ones leading after the second, after the third national, after the fourth national, even as we go into the World Championships. This is going to be a season-long race, an absolute grind to determine who the best player in the world is. So a really, really entertaining lineup that we have for doubles.
Anthony, thoughts on national doubles?
Yeah, it was. I think it was an important one coming in because we looked at the rankings coming in this past weekend. You're looking at like a Hamilton Cano sitting 21, Hissner Birchfield sitting 31, Grindersleeve Batson sitting 48. A Windsor Creek Killer who were both top 15 doubles with their other partners or sitting 59th. So it was like, okay, you only get one drop. It's time for these teams to show up. And just kind of go into the Graham Maudlin match. You're talking about eating my words. It's really, it's still weird because the only reason I'm going to say it flat out, I love Maudlin, man. He's a legend, but Jamie Graham had to be the best player in the building to carry that team to where they were at. Let me just kind of talk you through this a little bit. They had a tough bracket run, right? They get knocked down by Bernasette and Lopez in the third round, who ultimately they had to come back and double dip. Then they go on this 7-game run, and here's where Graham just goes unconscious. They had to go through Davis and Sorrells, obviously who have been killing it all season. That was a tough one. Crazy match against Gore and Soto, down 16-7. Who goes unconscious is Jamie Graham. They end up tying it at 21 or 20-20, win it in the 31st round. Again, this is on Jamie Graham's back. They're also down 17-9 versus Damon Dennis and Ferreira. Damon Dennis had it in it to win it with bumpers on the left and right. And he came in too hot and it hopped the hole. Ultimately, they end up coming back from that deficit and winning that one. The double dip, Trey, you were sitting there watching it too. That double dip against Bernasette and Lopez was absolutely unbelievable. Let me just kind of put it in perspective a little bit. Maudlin had a negative DPR 4 of the 5 games to finish off that tournament. He had a negative DPR. Jamie Graham had to basically score all the points. He scored 18 of the 21 points in game 1. He scored 16 of the 21 points in game 2. He was slaying his side of the board. That backside airmail to win it in game 1, the whole place erupted. I mean, he was already doing the most amazing things. The way that it finished was just perfect because he was hitting the tough pushes. He was pulling out his roll bag, hitting insane rolls. And then when that bag came up short, there was 2 bags in front of the hole. And he goes, is there room to win it? And we're all going, he's going to hit this. Like, there was no way he was not going to miss that shot. But Jamie Graham literally carried that doubles team to a bracket win. So I'm still sticking to it, Trey. My comment. Now, the caveat is Jamie Graham's going to have to be the best player in the building for this doubles team to continue to win brackets. Can he sustain that throughout the year? That's the tough part. I've never seen Jamie Graham play better. And his world's run in singles was pretty amazing, but what he did there in doubles was unreal. Real quick on Hart. He's also throwing this Viper Art carpet. He really showed everyone in the building that he has every single shot. Reverse cuts, roll bags. His running game was awesome. He was hitting all the airmails. He made I want to say he made a deep run in singles as well. Yeah, I kind of feel like we had this theme going on. It was like all these doubles teams, Hamilton Kano made it deep in singles. Ellis Hart made it deep in singles. Sorrells Davis made it deep in singles. So they come together in these doubles teams, and they're so difficult to beat. But Hart, very impressed. I think I'm going to have to pull out my Hardy shirt. Meesh, I'm going to have to make me a Hardy shirt.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I'm a fan now. I'm a fan of this kid, man. He was amazing.
We've already seen him on a broadcast, and he did great. So, I mean, he has the experience. So it'll be interesting. That was a shootout format, which we'll get to next. So the shootout doubles winners, Smith Richards, Ellis Hart, Forbes Reeves, and Windsor Creek Killer. We're running out of time, but I feel like we got to talk about the elite players at least, right, Trey?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the two ones there, Smith Richards, Quinn Reeves, for an elite team to make it all the way through. I look at their bracket and I was like, I kind of get it. I mean, they looked through, they beat the teams they needed to, and they didn't have to go against any powerhouse of a team. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can compete on that broadcast court, with Reeves already having an experience. He played for the Michigan Marauders on television, so he's got a little bit of that feel. Now they're going to have to do it, though, against Tony Smith and Mark Richards. Welcome to the big stage, right? Playing against a team that everybody thought would be far and away the best team in the world. Still has an opportunity to do just that. Smith and Richards look like Smith and Richards, and maybe just a questionable national doubles finish, but what they did in shootout kind of follows up what they did in Palm Beach and Oswego.
Anthony?
Yeah, just a closing comment on my previous thing for Model. I think it showed that how important it is for him to have a game changer in his hand. He was throwing that all slide 2.0. He could not get the speed he needed out of it. And that shows me why every time he's partnered up with someone in the past, you always see a game changer in that match. This is the first time I think I've seen Harbaugh throw with a different partner, and he wasn't throwing his game changer, so he was struggling on speed. Well, Smith and Richards.
Didn't he throw the Evolutions? Or you're categorizing that as somewhat the same?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Same thing, in my opinion. Especially because he's throwing slick side only, right? Whatever the patch is on the other side, it doesn't matter. Smith and Richards cruised through the bracket. Literally doubled their opponent's points through the entire tournament, which was nice for them coming off the day before where they went, I want to say they went 1-2. That was the shock around the building in the national doubles format, how quickly they dropped out of that. Some props in the Ellis Hart bracket. Engelken Baker really surprised me. In their side of the bracket, you had Davis Sorrells, Grindersleeve Batson, Hicks Trader, Halbert Trzynski. It's Engelken Baker who come out of there to that Kings team match. So they threw really, really good. Engelken's stats were unbelievable. Forbes and Reeves, they were able to dodge the high seed through that entire bracket. When you look at the next match and you're like, oh, they're gonna play this top team, that top team would lose. Then they move on to the next one. It's like, oh, yep, nope, that team lost. And it kept happening every time they thought they were going to play the tougher team lost. That's what you get out of shootout format. They won their bracket throwing 8s. That was surprising to me. I didn't
go back and see those stats. That's kind of wild.
The boards were dirty.
Yeah, combine their PPR. I want to say Forbes was like a 9-0 something, and then Reeves was like an 8-7 something. So when you combine them as a team, they were like an 8-9. So that was really interesting. Forbes, the A player in that one, he definitely showed that he was the A player in that one. The Windsor Creek Killer finish was unbelievable. That one was amazing as well. You got Shibner and Landis almost repeating, taking down another bracket. Congrats to those dudes. I mean, we're not talking about them. Again, the shootout format, it definitely does open things up. Game 1, Windsor Creek Killer down 12-0 in the third round. You're like, oh, these guys are done. Windsor does the same thing Graham did the day before. Carries that entire win back. He basically scored, I want to say it was like 16 out of the 20 points that they ended up getting to or something like that. He goes unconscious. He's hitting the pushes, the air mails, everything. And then in the second bracket, they just kind of run through that. But yeah, Windsor Creek Killer moving on. That was that double dip there was amazing.
It absolutely was. We also had our other events that happened. Senior singles went to Frank Maudlin. Women's singles, Cheyenne Bubenheim. Our women doubles final is going to be Kaylee Hunter and Gina Ramirez against Cheyenne Bubenheim and Cameron Belvin. Our pro blind draw went to Kano and Windsor, giving Kano almost every event win, except for one. Junior singles, Jaden Ellis. Elite singles, Quinn Reeves. And elite doubles, Jaden Ellis and Spencer Fabianar. And I wanted to say this earlier, and I forgot who won seniors. I couldn't remember, but Damon Dennis's roll bag. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was good. It didn't look wonky. It looked like a good roll bag. I was
Heck
impressed.
yeah.
Let's go, Damon. Talk about adapting. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Any quick thoughts on any of the other winners there, Trey, before we move on?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's worth noting our women's doubles final 2 that will also be featured on the national doubles broadcast when we go to Las Vegas. So, Kaylee Hunter, Gina Ramirez, Cheyenne Bubenheim, Cameron Belvin, right? Cheyenne, it's so funny. Quick note on her. After shootout singles, the next morning, we ran standings. We looked at it. And in singles, for pro singles, I looked, and the new #1 woman in the world was Miranda Coy.
Yes.
She had passed Cheyenne. And so I gave Miranda a little fist bump in the lobby. I said, great job. And then Miranda goes out, has another solid performance. Like nothing to be right home about. And then all of a sudden Cheyenne goes, yeah, I'm about tired of that. And she just runs through the entire national singles bracket. She makes it all the way to the third place game, right? Loses to Fisher Hamilton. We thought maybe Cheyenne was going to win herself an entire bracket. And what does that do? That brings her all the way back up to number 32. So Cheyenne has reclaimed her #1 woman ranking. So I think paired up with Cameron Belvin, I think Cameron Belvin maybe still be adjusting to getting back into the game. I saw some just lapses from Belvin that worries me a little bit when we start talking about getting on a big stage, getting on a broadcast court. You hoping one of those switches will just flip, and that's just it's natural given where she is right now. And I think she's going to have an opportunity to really bounce back here. The boards are going to be fast on TV. They always are. So that's something to keep into consideration, which I think it does help Belvin a little bit. But then on the other side, Kaylee Hunter in singles, in doubles, whatever it is, Kaylee Hunter is really good right now, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm hoping I see Cheyenne versus Kaylee in that doubles match, because I think we're going to see a battle of two titans right now that are absolutely two of the best in the world when it comes to the women's game. If we see them on opposite sides, then it just becomes a question of, can Gina and Cameron elevate their games enough in order to not make it skewed on each end. But my fingers are crossed to see Kaylee Hunter versus Cheyenne Bubenheim, because I think it's going to be an absolute thriller of a women's doubles final.
Anthony, anyone you want to chat about in all of our other categories?
Yeah, Hunter had a pretty awesome moment. It was on a different court, but I saw just a quick highlight while we were talking. But I don't know if you guys saw that airmail she hit.
Oh, yeah.
Late in one of the matches. And then I love the celebration. I mean, it was a tough airmail. The celebration from her got me pumped. And then I think someone came right behind her and hit a tough push.
Yeah.
To like deflate the balloon. But
in teams, yeah.
Was it in teams? Okay, yeah. That was a cool moment for the weekend. But Gina Ramirez, and it kind of goes along with the Chris Roybal story as well for me. So Gina Ramirez is Chris Roybal's aunt, I believe. I think it's a nephew-aunt thing going on there. But both players for me really showing how good they are. Under the radar for us. I mean, really outperforming what we expected. Roybal killing it right now in singles in both formats, the national and the shootout singles. I would love to see where the rankings actually settle once we get everything in there, because we might see a Chris Roybal inside 20,
He's number 9,
inside 15. Okay, inside 9. There you go.
He's 9th right now, which is crazy. After all the things have come in from this weekend, he's sitting at 9th.
There you go. So Chris Roybal, and then Gina Ramirez doing the same thing, I think, on the women's side. So they have this same kind of like grit to them. There's a similar kind of no mercy mentality between those two. I really love what I'm seeing out of that aunt nephew combo right there. Meesh.
Yeah, love to see it out of Arizona too. Not the, it's good to see that grow. The West grow. So we're going to talk about all the open stuff next week, but just a quick preview of what we're going to see at Cornhole Mania number 2. That is in Las Vegas, May 16th through 19th. We're also going to have open number 14 and obviously those final broadcasts. You can still get in for the Cornhole Clinic with Hunter Thorne. He's going to talk about strategic bag manipulation. That's going to be really good. You can go to academyacl.com/cornhole clinics to sign up for that. Then we're going to have our team's broadcast on CBS Sports. That's going to happen Thursday evening. So if you're going to be attending the Open, we'd love to see you in the audience. And you can get VIP tables or sit general admission, but it'll be a lot of fun. Or our new backyard, which I love the backyard section of our broadcast. The DJ's over there. We got tables. We got standing room. All kinds of fun activities. Friday, we have shootout doubles on ESPN2, and then national doubles, and then shootout singles. And then Saturday is going to be national singles, pro women's singles, and then the Super Hole. So looking forward to the Super Hole. We had a lot of fun at the last event. We've got some great football players coming, so don't miss that. And if you are going to attend that live, make sure you grab your seats as soon as we drop the link to get your tickets. You won't want to miss that.
Who came up with strategic bag manipulation? I love that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was me. I'm trying to recall,
Must be Hunter Thorne. It must be Hunter Thorne.
Had to be Hunter. I can't imagine I came up with that term. But yeah, he's going to talk about obviously all the ways, manipulating the bag. So whether it's cutting or rolling, all that kind of stuff. And I think the one next month is, I think it's advanced shot making. If I don't correct me if I'm wrong. So that will be a good one too. But those clinics are great because, you get hands-on in-person instruction with pros. So
that's really awesome.
Yeah.
That Friday is going to be packed. I love the triple header, if you will, on Friday. So I was just kind of trying to see. Let's see. National singles is the one. I was wondering if we were going to get Kano or Ellis 3 times in one night, but I don't think we will, right?
So which one did Kano not make? He did not make.
It was a single shootout, I believe.
So so Friday, the first event, Kano is not in.
Ellis. Ellis was shootout singles. Yeah, so we won't get a triple header of all 3, but those boys are going to show up 3 or 4 times.
That would be a long night.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's nerve-wracking to play one match under the lights. Can you imagine having to go? You'd have to go 6 because you'd have to win the semifinal, semifinal, 6 matches in one night.
Keep it rolling.
No doubt.
All right. Anything, Trey, before we move on to buy or sell?
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to say, the teams matchups on Thursdays, when we look at specifically high rollers versus bully baggers coming out of now the second national, so we're about the halfway point in the season. Those high rollers versus the bully baggers is a matchup of the 2 region leading teams in the national division. So you have the bully baggers leading the central, you have the high rollers leading the west. Both are sitting in first place, both 2 incredible teams on their ways to a playoff. So I had a chance to call some of the high rollers games. They are energetic. They are ready to go. It's going to be a lot of fun calling those and seeing those, but seeing if they can continue on their run to make the playoffs. And then on the other game, you have the Burn versus the Spinners. This is a pair of third place teams. Remember, only the top 2 spots in each of the regions make the playoffs. So these are teams that are in third place, but the gap between them and second place is not much at all. When we look at, in particular, the Burn, we're talking about 1 game. They're 1 game out. So if that goes 5-2 versus 4-3, we could talk about them taking the Slingers' place in second place. Don't get Meesh too upset there as we look at that. And then if we look at the Spinners in particular, just a total of a game and a half difference between them and the second place Missouri Mays. So overall, this is a really tight race. When we talk about playoff implications, there are going to be 2 broadcasts that are going to be worth watching.
Absolutely. Buy or sell. First one, Forbes and Reeves will be the only elite doubles team to make a broadcast.
Yeah, this is an easy buy for me. when I look at the bracket, like, don't get me wrong. I think Tony Forbes is going to be a very successful pro player when he eventually goes pro. I think he's got all of those different shots and all those different things that he can hit. However, I just cannot see them being another team like them being able to win a bracket. They had a really favorable, path to win it all. They can still win it all, right? Anything can happen on that broadcast court. Maybe they just show up and they have the best day and they win the whole thing. That would be great for them. But to get lightning striking twice in a bottle with an elite team like this, I think is and that's what makes it special. So take in this moment. This is something special happening. I'm selling, or I'm buying.
Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, the only way it is going to happen is going to be in the shootout format. I don't see that happening in a 2-21 format. And if I had to pick someone, it wouldn't have been Forbes and Reeves. I mean, at initial thought, I might go with like an Ellis Fabianar kind of out of the gate, or maybe even a Hammond Remick, coming out of there. So it's tough. You get into these brackets, it's already tough for the pros to even get to a final. I mean, much less an elite player going through multiple brackets. How's it go? I'm gonna sell as well.
You're gonna buy those.
Buy that. The only elite player. Yeah.
Gilbert and Norton are this year's biggest surprise.
This is a hard one because, I was like, are they the biggest surprise? And I'm gonna buy it. If I was looking for a second place for me, it honestly may go Eric Davis. I mean, to an extent, I know Anthony is going to be shocked when I say this, but to me, Gavin Cano's a little bit of a surprise, right? Because we're talking about the level in which we're talking around, right? Did I expect Gavin Cano to be a top 15 player, a top 10 player? Yes. Did I expect him to be the only contention to Jeremiah Ellis to be the number one player in the world, and then there be a large gap between them and the next group? No, I didn't expect that either. So I think that's a little bit of a surprise. But for Norton and Gilbert, when you look at their singles rankings, they're not great. When you look at what they did in doubles last year, it's not great. It almost doesn't make sense. And for them to do it for back-to-back events tells me it's not a fluke. It's not as if they had one good day in Palm Beach and that means everything. So for me right now, I mean, maybe throw Ian Cripps in there too for what he's done, but he couldn't follow it up with a second finish. Like, yeah, I'm going to buy it.
Anthony?
Yeah. I think my biggest surprise right now is all of our top 10s. My number one guy in the world, Caleb Batson. That's I don't know what's going on there, but it's not working out. But really, some shout outs to some positive big surprises. Frisch Cameron. I think they were first coming into the second bracket, right? I think
they're the number one team in the world right now. Right now,
okay.
They didn't make a broadcast, so they can't get any bonus points. So it is inevitable that someone is going to pass them. But the idea is, at least for right now, like, they're number one. And that means something.
Yeah, that's crazy. Getty Thorson. We're in fourth coming into this weekend. I'm not sure where the stats lay out now. And then that run by Glover and Duke, I was like, what is going on? We had Glover and Duke, I think, ultimately taking fourth. That's a big surprise. But yeah, man, Caleb Batson, I don't know what's up.
So you're selling?
Not the
biggest surprise?
Not the biggest, yeah.
Well, you guys have been alluding to this one the entire show, but Man of the Year will be a two-man race between Cano and Ellis.
Dude.
Yeah, I got to buy it, right? If I look for someone to come in and actually challenge them, it has to be someone that I know can finish at the top consistently at events, and someone that is already near the top of the rankings, right? I could look at someone like a Mark Richards and say, I know that the second half of the year, he has the ability to win both events or something along those lines, right? But the issue is he hasn't had a good enough start to the season to even put himself in that type of contention. So the amount of people that can challenge them it's a very limited list. It's some people like an Eric Davis and Adam Hissner and a Braden Wilson. And although I think those people have been the most consistent, can I say to myself, I know for a fact they're going to make just about every other, if not every single Final Four in singles for the rest of the year? No, I cannot do that. I buy that this is a two-man race for Man of the Year. And honestly, now with Ryan Hart playing at a high level and them making the broadcast, hold the phone. We may be talking about an MVP race.
Yeah.
Anthony?
Ellis loves that the Ellies love that you just said that, Trey. They're like, did you hear that? Clip it, put that on the next. I'm gonna buy it as well. I mean, we're 40% through the season. We're 2 of 5 events down. These guys keep taking down brackets. They're only going to add to bonuses, this weekend with another win. That's just going to further separate them from the pack. And then with Kano having 2 shots at it, that's going to even separate it even further. So, I mean, right now you have to say that you have to buy that.
Sarah Cassidy is the #1 threat to Cheyenne Bubenheim this season.
Hey, there was a woman that had Cheyenne Bubenheim 20-20 in the first game that they played all year, all tournament long this weekend.
Who was it?
In pro singles, and it wasn't Sarah Cassidy. Peyton Haynes.
That was the name I was going to go with.
Now, if you remember, way long ago, I don't remember many hot takes I give, but I said that Peyton Haynes would win one event and take it away from Cheyenne this year. She hasn't done that yet, so I cannot say that I'm that smart. I'm just a little bit smart, right? I really think Peyton Haynes can give – when she's on, she can absolutely do that. Sarah Cassidy has been near the top, but I would also throw Kaylee Hunter in that mix. I think Kaylee Hunter is lights out. So for now, I'm going to sell on Cassidy being the #1 threat, and I'm probably leaning Kaylee Hunter #1 and maybe Peyton Haynes #2.
Anthony?
Oh, no, and Miranda Coy, too. Miranda and
I just completely went through that whole thing. I was going to cover her. I would have covered her for you.
Okay, you cover her, because if I didn't mention her, I'd be in trouble. So you get Miranda.
Yeah, we don't need to be in trouble here. You're good. You're good. The reason I like Peyton Haynes, it just goes back to the argument earlier about the 10-half thing. Actually, here's a couple insane matches that were a murmur amongst this weekend, and it fits into why a Sarah Cassidy I don't think can match that. Is you just have these bag running marathons. Holland Bernasset. Did you guys hear about that match this weekend? 40 rounds. Bernasset loses with an 11.08. Derek Holland threw an 11.23. So there's a case where you do the math and it's only a 0.15 DPR because you're just playing this game. And I think that's where Peyton Haynes can come in and say, I'm going to force some mistakes. I'm going to try and beat you a different way. It's going to be tough to outrun a Cheyenne Bubenheim. So I'm going to back you up on that Haynes, man. I think she's the one.
Finalists under 21 have an advantage in Vegas next week.
You know what? I don't hate that, actually. I just heard about a high roller tournament that's happened starting at 10 p.m. on Wednesday.
Saw that.
So buy it. I'll buy it. Braden Wilson, what can Braden Wilson do in Vegas besides throw bags? He literally can't do anything. So might as well.
Anthony?
Yeah, I'm buying as well. I'm buying. Vegas can get you. If you're not under control, Vegas can get you. The younger crew's going to be coming ready to go.
They'll be all 8 hours of sleep. It's going to be crazy. All right, hot takes. What you got, Trey?
All right, I'm setting the stage. I'm a man for drama, so I'm giving Anthony a dramatic broadcast for him. Gavin Kano wins shootout singles, so he enters the national singles broadcast tied with Jeremiah Ellis. Kano and Ellis both win their semifinals. They meet in the finals for the #1 player in the world title to go head-to-head. National. Ellis going for his second national win. Kano going for his first, and it's going to be epic.
Anthony.
Crap. That's literally where I was going to go. But the only difference is I got Kano winning that final match.
Well, he's gonna one up you there.
Yeah, he just won. I'll go Ellis then. I'll say Ellis. So
there we go.
Let's go. Here we go.
Competing.
I'm going doubles. I think that Hart continues to be impressive, and Ellis and Hart grab one of those doubles titles, whether it's national or shootout. All right, guys, we are all done. We will see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining us.